Moat on the volley, and the corner. What a start for West Bromwich Albion. Unbelievable! West Bromwich Albion have ruined his big day.
Line again, and it's Adam Wingy who gets the final touch, and West Bromwich Albion now have a 2-goal cushion.
The Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Back again today with another podcast and match reaction episode for you. It's been a while since I've done this on my own, but don't worry, it may just seem like I'm on my own for now, but I will have a guest joining me later on in the episode. I'm delighted to say that Richard Sneekes, former West Bromwich Albion legend, and still West Bromwich Albion legend of course, will be joining me later on in the episode to give his thoughts on the current situation at the club. So yeah, looking forward to hearing what Richard says, but for now, I'm afraid you're stuck with me, only for a short while. He'll be coming on for the second half of the episode, but yeah. We'll be chatting through all things Cardiff. We'll be talking through that performance. We'll be talking a bit of Daryl Dike as well, as we got to see him in the Hawthorns at half-time for his unveiling as well. I'll also be chatting through a few of my different qualms with the club at the moment and what also needs to be done in the January transfer window. So be sure to stick around till the end to hear Richard Sneekes' thoughts. I look forward to hearing what you think. Drop your comments down below. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify now, you can now drop us a nice little 5-star review. So if you're a fan of the podcast, you enjoy listening, go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well now do ratings. Be sure to click 5 stars if you haven't already. Make sure you go and drop us a nice little rating. Really goes a long way to helping us reach our goals and find different listeners, find new audiences and all that jazz. So be sure to subscribe, get involved, comment your thoughts below. And let's crack on with this episode. Let's go straight into what happened against Cardiff, because it was a little bit of a shambles. Let's be fair. Let's face it. It was a shambles. It was not a nice game to watch. I was really disappointed with the performance for stars, as I did talk a little bit about that in my matchday vlog. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already. I basically just take you around the ground, take you to the Albion ground with me, and start to sort of show some atmosphere of the game. I got a lot of Daryl Dike's unveiling, but you know, I do a little match report and match reaction at the end of the game. So yeah, if you fancy checking that out, that'll be on our YouTube channel. We're heading towards 1,000 subscribers. Done such a good job so far at that this year. We've literally gained about 200 subscribers this year already. So yeah, if you fancy getting involved, fancy helping us out, I'd really appreciate it on there. But yeah, I said the performance was poor for a start. As you can't start blaming external factors to start with. You have to start by looking at your own team performance. You have to start by looking at your own team's tactics, your own team's mentality, your own team's individual players, individual mistakes. You can't. The first thing you can't do when assessing your own team's performance is to take a look at something else, and that's to take a look at the ref, to take a look at Cardiff, or take a look at the opposition, take a look at whatever. You have to look at your own team's performance first, and the manager, the players, and all that involved in that. And that's where I start my sort of match dissection today. You can't begin by looking at a referee's performance, in my opinion. You can end there. You can say, well, if he'd have given this, we could have had this. I personally believe you have to start with your own team. You have to look at yourselves first. So that's where I'm going to start. We'll start in goal. Let's start with Sam Johnstone, who obviously got himself sent off, I suppose, after the full-time whistle in a bit of a melee following a dubious penalty decision, we'll say, but we'll save that for a little bit later. I don't know, you guys are looking forward to it. But Sam Johnstone has been pretty poor of late, and I'm a fan of him. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he did a fantastic job last season and really helped drag us through the mire and helped get us out of a lot of trouble throughout last season's campaign. I thought that his shot stopping was second to none. His commanding of the area was a lot better. To start this season, made a couple of mistakes, Blackburn being one of them. Can't quite put my finger on where the other one came. But still looking a very solid sweeper keeper. But all of a sudden January rocks around, and we can't quite put it together. So it's funny that as soon as a move looks likely, he kind of switched off a little bit. And I say switched off, not like he's kind of. I say maybe he has stopped caring, but I wouldn't want to imply that for a player that I don't personally know and somebody that I'm not in the dressing room with, knowing very well inside out or anything like that. but switching off physically in the games, like quite literally his concentration has not been there, which is a shame because he's a really good player and he's a fantastic goalkeeper and would be at this level, but it's clear to see that he's not quite 100% in, and that's a shame. And I think that a lot of the mistakes that he's caused so far have been a bit disappointing for me. I've been really upset by the way that he's kind of just rushed out of his goal, kind of switched off a lot of the time. The red card yesterday, was it a red card? I didn't quite get to see a lot of the still footage. I saw a bit of still footage, but didn't quite get to see a video footage of the game. But Johnstone was, all over Aidan Flint. I saw from the still images, whether he punched him or whether he, clocked an elbow to him or something like that, that would 100% warrant a red card. And I didn't quite see a video clip that would say that. But yeah, I feel like it was disappointing. But if he gets sent off, I feel like that's kind of it for him. I do think that's the end of Sam Johnstone's Albion career. Unfortunately, I don't want it to be, because I like him. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. I think he'd do a solid job if we went back to the Premier League this season. But for me, I feel like that's probably it for him now. I feel like a Newcastle, a West Ham, a Southampton perhaps would come in for him, probably pay that £6 million bid, for example, from West Ham isn't looking too far off now. But West Ham, £6 million, I'd probably sell him for that. I'd probably take the money. Whether that money has been reinvested in Dike already with the anticipation that Johnstone's going to be sold, but to get yourself sent off like that is completely stupid, and to get yourself sent off in that way is completely out of order, and I don't want to see that from any West Brom player. But it seems that discipline is a little bit of an issue in this side. The defence yesterday were completely shaky. It was really worrying to watch. They didn't know what to do with the ball. They looked they looked uninspired. They looked scared. They looked nervy. They looked shaky. To use all the descriptions I can of them, they looked quite all over the shop, to be quite honest. And it was really worrying to see from Albion's perspective, to watch the defence almost just lose connection with their goalkeeper all of a sudden. I think Sam Johnstone's been quite good. I've never said I've said on the podcast before, some of the earliest episodes I ever made were of me saying Sam Johnstone is not a good goalkeeper commanding his area, but I have to credit him this season. He's done a really good job. I don't think that's naturally what he'd like to be doing, but that's the job he's been asked to do, and he's certainly done it as a true professional would, and has done it well. But yesterday, my God, and the Derby game, we have to talk about that little mistake, because obviously this is the first time we've been back since the new year. But happy New Year if I'm a bit late in telling in wishing you that. But I feel like that game against Derby was the epitome of kind of where Sam Johnstone's flaws might have been in the Championship. I think under Bilic is where that really came to light. But I do think that the back three looked particularly shaky, and I think you have to have the confidence of a goalkeeper behind you. I'm not trying to get on at Sam Johnstone. I'm not trying to give him a load of hate, because I'm sure he's had enough already on Twitter. But I do feel that connection between him and the back three has kind of wilted a little bit. He's kind of lost that communication. He's lost that leadership. And with the defence, you have to have a goalkeeper behind you who breathes confidence in you. You have to have a goalkeeper behind you who's going to come out and shepherd the ball. He's going to come out and sort of and come and take the ball off you. He's going to come and I think he's provided lots of good passing angles, and I think he's been very underrated this season because he hasn't had too many saves to make. Let's not remember, let's not forget from this performance that our defence has the lowest XG conceded in the entire division. They are very solid, but the past couple of games, error prone, not looking like they can play out from the back, not looking like they can spin out from the back. Johnstone doesn't look like he's able to distribute the ball well anymore. The communication has completely gone between all of the back three, and it's leading to chances. I'm really shocked at the way that the Albion defence has kind of faltered in this way, and I hope to God that Ismail can fix it, because this could be another start of a problem. I mean, if the problem is that we can't score, we may have fixed that with Dike. But if there are problems emerging that we now can't defend, we are in serious trouble. Because if we can't get the ball in the back of the net one end, and we can't keep the ball out the back of the other, we're starting to look we would start to look a really, really poor side. I think the defence has really been our saving grace this season with the clean sheets and the goals conceded that they have. So, yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the defence recently. I think the midfield is an issue in itself. When you're playing a Cardiff midfield three, I personally, if I was sat on my Football Manager, which I like to play a lot, I mean, I'm claiming myself as no expert, but that's a game I like to play a lot. It's just a simple tactical decision. What you do is you see an opposition is playing three in midfield. You either play two who you know are going to be able to get the legs and get them middle around, get around them in the middle. That for me would be Moa and Malumbi. or you play three. You play all three of your midfielders to combat the Cardiff midfield three. Yes, they weren't great. Yes, they're not fantastic footballers. Yes, they could hardly string two passes together at times. But still, you have to play your best midfield, and you have to play who you believe are going to do the job. I think Jake Livermore, I thought he played really well yesterday. To his credit, I thought he played like a captain, but that wasn't exactly exemplary of the rest of the team. Alex Mowat getting himself sent off. I was really disappointed by that challenge. I didn't quite see it, as I'm sure you will have seen if you watched the matchday vlog. I was actually nowhere near it. I was literally diagonally across the ground from it. So I saw it was a little bit of a kick out, not like maybe not a kick out, but a lunging challenge, a dangerous one, a bit full blooded. I couldn't quite see it, but the replays do say I think that's a red card, and I do think that he deserved to be sent off in that game. Disappointed, however, in the discipline of the side. I think Ishmael coming onto the pitch at the end of the game. I like passion. I said it in the matchday vlog. I like passion. I really like passion from Ishmael. I loved it when he ran down the touchline at Peterborough. I loved it when I say I loved it. It was silly, but I did like it. And I loved it when we were playing playing teams, and he's kicking every ball with us, and I like that. But when you're running onto the pitch to, I don't know, fight the referee after a game, or I don't know, that probably wasn't his intention, but it certainly looked that way. He certainly looked very angry. To have to be led away from your captain, it spreads a bad message to the team. How Livermore was the man who remained the calmest in the team, I will never ever know. I cannot believe that he managed to remain the calmest player on the pitch with all of that going on around him. But Ishmael coming on, I think it breeds a bit of aggression into the players, and that's not the positive aggression. You want that aggression to be there from minute one rather than after the 90th minute. You know, we should have had that fight all afternoon, and quite frankly, I don't think we did. And you know, if they had half the passion that Ishmael did from the first minute to the last, I think we may have come out with 3 points today. But Ishmael, poor from him. I think he breeds that aggression into the side, and after the game, it's just not good. It's a breeding ground for fights. It's a breeding ground for suspensions, and that's exactly what we've come out with Mowat and Johnstone, especially at the end of the game. That's very uncharacteristic of him. I've never seen him be particularly aggressive towards an opponent. I've never seen him, get angry. I've never seen him be that frustrated. But it's a clear sign of what's going on at the Hawthorns at the moment that there is a little bit of bad blood, and I'm disappointed to say that there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment that I'm not pleased with. But Taylor Gardner-Hickman, Tom Fellows, I thought it was really nice to see them play, but I think personally this is going by very high marks. Taylor Gardner-Hickman's the worst game for us, but he's been class all through the season, and he's certainly not a player I'd want to see dropped at all. But Furlong as well, thankfully wasn't in the side, but replaced by Gardner-Hickman, has been looking really shaky of late, looking disinterested, not really giving 100% towards the cause. Gardner-Hickman certainly does give 100%, may have some rough around the edge traits at the moment, but that's fair. I can deal with that. I'd rather watch somebody who's a bit rough around the edges, but he's going to give 100%. Fellows, I thought did all right in parts. I didn't think he was as effective as he was against Derby, but I think they flushed him out quite well, and they flushed out a lot of our wide areas. Up front, Dean Garner, who I thought came on very well for Fellows, and I thought did a really good job. Robinson and Grant, I thought you have to credit Robinson in this game. I thought that he did really well. He clearly, in the second half, his ambition was to come out and pull defenders apart, and he certainly did that. And he certainly brought out a lot of players in the game, and sort of brought out a lot of the defenders move their shape around a little bit, and that's what you want in a game when a team's going to play exactly no football like they did. But they did really well, and I thought that Robinson did really, really well in the striking line to try and influence that. You can, people laugh when people say, "Oh, Robinson, he's not a number 9," but he did really well. He came out, he brought the ball out from away from the defenders, and he created space for others. That goal was offside. The goal from him was offside. Let's face that. That's the start of the poor officiating. The goal was miles offside. Well, I'll say miles, about 5 yards offside, and he didn't. The lino didn't give it offside. That's a decision that we have to kind of just roll with. But then again, we weren't given decisions later on in the game. I thought Robinson did really well to come and pull defenders away. Karl Grant's been getting a lot of praise on Twitter and on social media, and I feel like it's a little overserved. I think the praise. I thought he did well, and I thought he did nicely when he came to collect the ball deep. Played a couple of really nice passes. Robinson's pass was nice if it wasn't offside. There was lots of balls over the top that he did really well. However, I will say that I do think that he did a good job in passing, but I do think that he does miss a lot of challenges. He does miss a lot of a lot of things going about, and I do think that he could have a lot more influence on the game than he does. I feel like he's kind of a 5-minute man. He'll play those 5 minutes here and there, and I do kind of rate that from him, but I do kind of want him to do a bit better. He'll play those 5 minutes, but if he scores, that's fine. But sometimes he can be so ineffective and he can go missing. He's kind of hiding behind fullbacks, hiding behind centre defenders, but he does create space for others, and I can rate that from him. But yeah, I do feel like there's more from him. I do feel like there's a lot more. If he gives another 10%, I don't feel like he's working at 100% of his ability at the moment. So yeah, those are my thoughts on essentially the side. Ishmael, I thought there were tactical tweaks. I thought, it does frustrate me when Mo got sent off and he brought on another midfielder. I say you have to bring on another midfielder. Why couldn't you bring somebody out of the back three for that and keep going? Because you were the better side. Albion were the better side just before that, and it was a bit disappointing. But yeah, those are my thoughts. The referee didn't give a clear penalty for Connor Townsend later on in the game, which really disappointed me and was really frustrating because, that was ridiculous how he did not give a penalty for that decision. But he swings and roundabouts. We had poor officiating to give us a goal. Let's all face that. And we had poor officiating not to give us a penalty. But the ref was out of control. The ref let that game get out of control several times throughout the game. He allowed things to go that shouldn't. He blew up for silly fouls. He didn't blow up for a couple of pretty clear opportunities in on goal for Callum Robinson when I think Flint or either of them back three hauled him down. I thought that the ref just lost control of the game against Cardiff, and I thought that he potentially cost both teams the opportunity of a good game because it was the same as the Arsenal City game the other day. I was watching that. It was really entertaining, really fluid, really nice football. But neither team could get going because the referee was so bad and it just kind of spoilt it. So yeah, I'm very disappointed, very, very disappointed, and I hope to see a much more improved refereeing the performance. But he should not be refereeing many championship games again. I think he needs to have a long hard look at what he's done in that game and how he's let things boil over, and how his inability to manage the flow of a game has led to tempers being flared on both sides. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the referee. That's my thoughts on the Cardiff game. DK in. There's a huge amount of weight on that lad's shoulders now. I'm very worried that he's gonna let down a bit of pressure, and I just struggle to believe how he's gonna drag all of these problems. I think he provides a focal point, and I think he provides a very good one for that matter. But he is the man that Albion need, but is he the man that's going to actually save Albion? Because at the moment I'm not seeing it, and I don't think that he's I'm not convinced that he's going to be the answer for Albion. I think that he'll score goals, and I know he will, but I don't think that he can create chances and score them at the same time, because quite frankly yesterday, were there too many clear-cut chances? Yeah, there are a few. But I feel like DK, there's more to come from. There's something to come from him, but it's not quite going to solve everything. I think he can solve a lot of the problems. I think he can solve everything in the 18-yard box. But so far, over the past few games, have we really got it that far into the 18-yard box? Not really. Let's hope that DK can make the difference. And I don't want to plant pressure on his shoulders, but he needs to hit the ground running really quickly. And I feel like if he doesn't, the toxicity of the Albion fan base is really, really at a high right now. You can't express one view without having a personal attack on you or something like that. I've seen it so many times. Saw it in the stadium yesterday. It's ridiculous. Daryl Dike has done could do such a great job for Albion. Could do the business. But if he doesn't kick off and score 6 goals in this first game, I feel like Albion fans, it's not going to end well. So I'm a bit worried for him, and I hope that he can hit the ground running. I feel he will score some goals for us, but I feel there's more to be done for that. And that's where I've had a question come in on Twitter, and that's from Joe, who's obviously been on the podcast before from the Albion show. He said, do you think Albion should make any more additions in January? And if so, where? So I'd probably make an addition in midfield. I feel like there needs to be a ball player in midfield, a sole ball player, somebody who can pick that ball up, play it forward, have a bit of calmness. I think Okay Akushlu is the man. I'd love to see him back at Albion. I think he's got control over the midfield. I think he dictates the tempo of the game. And I think neither Mowatt, Livermore or Malumbi can dictate any of the tempo of the game because they are constantly being overrun. They haven't got the legs to get around the pitch. I think Mowatt has been struggled of late, and it's a shame. I think he struggles when he's next to Livermore. I think he succeeds when he's next to Malumbi or Taylor Gardner-Hickman. That's the simple thing for you, and Ismail has to give in to allow this team to flourish, and he has to start changing things around. I think we need to play a bit more football. I think we need to get the ball down, play it a little nicer. But yeah, I think Okoye Kushlu, I'd love to see him come into the side. I'd love to see us splash a little bit of cash on him. Maybe if we haven't used the Johnstone money, I think we should on Okoye Kushlu, because I think the goalkeeping position could be sussed. I think Okoye Kushlu is a great player, and I think if he picks the ball up in midfield, he can drive, he can put his foot on the ball, have a bit of control. Because at the moment, I feel like we're just slapdashing everything. Everything is rushed. Everything is over the top. Everything is more rushed than it needs to be. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Okoye Kushlu. Thank you for your question there, Joe. But let's go over to hear what Richard Sneekes thinks. I spoke to him earlier this morning, only for about 10 minutes. He's not feeling too well, bless him. But yeah, he did a fantastic job of summarising Albion's thoughts and feelings so far this season. So take it away, Richard, and myself of former times. And make sure you subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode so far. But let's take it over to Richard Sneekes, who's going to provide a bit of a pundit's insight into the Albion so far. I'm here with West Bromwich Albion legend Richard Sneekes to get his thoughts on the Albion currently. Richard, it's been an up and down season to say the least. What did you make of Valérien Ismaël's appointment back in the summer, and how do you feel his reign has kind of progressed throughout the season so far?
Yeah, I think it was an exciting one. I think people looked at Barnsley and where he first came as a manager in England, and with a very, very average team, they got into the playoffs. So the club must have looked at it and thought, well, young up and coming manager, who can probably get us firing back into the Premier League. It started like a house on fire. I think a lot of people like this style of pressing really high tempo. Lots of balls in the box, and the wins were there for everybody to be seen, and then it started to falter a little bit. Whether or not the players cannot keep up with what he wants for a whole season, or whether or not they are getting a little bit fed up, with the way they're playing. That's only something that they know within the camp. But no, it's definitely been stuttering over the last couple of weeks.
And what do you think you'd do if you were kind of in charge, Richard? What would you do to kind of turn things around? Is it something that maybe a change of systems needed, or is it something that maybe players need dropping or something like that?
Well, I went to Barnsley. I did the commentary there, and Barnsley were very, very poor, and I mean very, very poor. They weren't a good side at all, and we were poor on the day as well. And there was just a couple of things that I didn't like. It's where the central midfielders never show for the ball, so we're always going long. That is something that I personally would change. But the manager is the manager. He's got his philosophy. He knows the way he wants to play, and that is his style. And I don't think there is a plan B. I don't think there is another way of how he wants to play. I think as a manager, if you've got a plan A and it doesn't work, it's good to work on a plan B, because it means, you can switch systems and you can try and do different things and catch the opposition out. With this, there's just only one way. And if it doesn't work, which it hasn't done over the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden, we look very, very poor in some of the games. Second half yesterday, I thought it was a lot better. I think we should have had a penalty, in the last minute as well. So I can understand the frustration, boiling over at the end. But all in all, I would love to see, a little bit more football. I think they've got the players, to play a better brand, a better style of football. And I just think he's really stubborn in his ways. And then you've got to respect that, because that's what he believes in. But if it doesn't work, and it doesn't work for a longer period of time, then, something's got to change.
Yeah, and we've seen Daryl Dike come into the club as well. Saw him unveiled at half time. Do you think that he's going to potentially solve a few of Albion's problems from this season?
Well, it's somebody that he knows. It's somebody that he had at Barnsley. He's got a good goal scoring record. At Orlando City as well. So he's coming into the club, and all of a sudden people will expect him to solve the problem, because he's played under him before. He knows how it works. Will he? I don't know. He's still a young player, young American player, so he'll need a little bit of time to adapt. So I think we've got good players, up there. I think if we give them a little bit more freedom, I think we'd see, a lot more enthusiasm and a lot more smiles on faces than what we're seeing at the moment. But let's just hope DK can provide the goods and get up and running really quickly. The good thing is, he came in on the first day of the transfer window, so that's something that normally West Brom are known to do at their business at the very last minute, the last day. So at least we got somebody in early on. So hopefully he'll be able to play next week.
And obviously, moving forward throughout this season, the way things are looking, how do you see Albion finishing this season? Do you think that potentially we can get through via the playoffs or potentially automatics, or do you think it's not a possibility at all?
I've watched a little bit more of the Championship lately, and I like QPR. I like what they're doing. I think if you look at it on a week-to-week basis, at this moment in time, I think they're way ahead of the way that West Brom are playing. I'm not saying they're going to win more games, but you got Bournemouth, you got Fulham. You would say that they would probably, with the squads that they have and the way that they're playing, will have too much, for us to go for automatic promotion. But they've been faltering over the last couple of weeks, so it's a case of who can hold their nerves. Can the players stick to what the managers want? Because over the last couple of weeks, some of the games that I've been watching, it just doesn't like they enjoy themselves. And I was a footballer first and foremost as a youngster because I wanted to enjoy football. So it's going to be a very interesting end to the season. As long as he can keep the players on side, I think we're a definite for the playoffs. But automatic promotion might just be that little bit too far.
And finally, Richard, is there any other areas of the team that you'd like to see improved? Obviously, the striker position we hope has kind of been solved now, but is there anything else that you'd want to see in terms of transfers for the rest of this January?
Well, I think, everybody, you look at Johnstone, who, if they want to get money for him, that they'll have to sell him in the window. So that might make a change. They might have to bring a goalkeeper in. Like I said, the three centre-halves, what it looks to me is that they just got to boom it long, and anybody can do that. So what I would like to see is just a little bit more football being played, because I think the quality is there to play a little bit more football, and I think the manager's got to give him that little bit more freedom. I don't think we need to add that much. A striker, yeah, definitely. I think we've got cover on the right and on the left. I think he's got a deep enough squad, to go and go on a run. But I just think, like I said before, and I'll say it again, I just think the manager needs to tweak it a little bit and play a little bit more football so that the players are going to enjoy themselves. And when you've got players that enjoy themselves, you'll get better results and they'll play better. But at this moment in time, it looks to me, but that's from the outside in, I do not know anything about it. It just looks as if the players are not enjoying playing football. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much to Richard Sneekes for coming on the podcast this week and helping us out. Obviously, that actually was used as part of my university coursework, but he's also done a very good job in providing a bit of an insight into Albion for the podcast, and kindly let me use that as well. So, yeah, big thank you for listening. Big thank you for Richard for coming on. And so make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate if you dropped us some ratings. We don't get too many of them because I think we're more prominent on our YouTube platforms. But if you'd like to go and drop us a little rating, I'd really appreciate it. I'd really love it if you could. It'd mean a lot to me if you could, potentially go and just show your appreciation for the podcast. Do put a lot of work in. I don't want to, guilt trip you into, helping us out here, but I do put a lot of work in. I try my best with all of the podcasts that I do, and I hope that you can see that, and I hope that you can potentially drop us a review if you've enjoyed. But that does bring me to the end of the Baggies podcast this week. Make sure you tune in next week for another episode. We've got another exciting guest coming on, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Have a great week, Baggies fans. Take care.